Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of This Is My Bourbon Podcast. I am your host, Perry, and sadly this week begins the 5-week hiatus of none other than Swan, the bourbon finder himself. He will be returning at the beginning of February, more like mid-February, as he takes some time off so he can go work a little bit more out in the field for his job. But in the meantime, we're going to have a slew of guest hosts, and I am extremely excited to welcome good friend of the show with just an immaculate beard right now that I am unbelievably jealous of. It just looks stunning. It's just fantastic. Mr. Adam Terry of the Nashville Bourbon Society. Adam, welcome to the show for the first time. It's your first time being on the show.
It is my pleasure. Thank you very much. I love the honor of being your first guest host. Again, I don't have feathers. I don't have cool sneakers, so I can't really stack up to the Swan and the Curtis angle. But hopefully, we'll talk about some cool stuff today and see what this bourbon culture is all about.
You're still a very well dressed man. I don't think you need to cut yourself short. So of course.
I'm just sitting here in my duck camo and my skinny jeans.
I am in sweatpants and Adidas sneakers. So
hashtag dad life, man.
Amen. I am growing my hair out a little bit though. I think it looks kind of nice and wavy. It's what I wanted it to look like the first time I grew it out, but it was just kind of straight and sad. And now it's it's got some body to it, and I'm pretty happy with it. So
it's about that self-care,
anyway, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's what this beard's about. It's lack of self-care.
Yeah, fair enough. If you are new to the show, welcome in for the first time ever. We appreciate you being here. If you have not, please hit the subscribe button. New episodes come out every Wednesday. And if you could also leave us a 5-star rating and review, if you feel so inclined, on the iTunes podcast app or wherever it is that you get your podcasts. We would love to hear that. It helps grow the show, helps reach new people in the community. And now we will also read it out on the show towards the end of the show, if you want. I mean, we don't have to if it's not something you're into, but we will. Anyway,
you should tell us if you don't want us to read it out.
Exactly. Yeah. We normally start the show out with Flying Blind, but because Adam and I are, a solid 4 hours apart, we do not have Flying Blind today. Instead, we're just going to kind of sip on some things throughout this episode. I think we should start with the tried and true Eagle Rare, if you would be so inclined.
Yes, please. So I've got one here from a local store called Centerpoint. They do a bunch of great picks every year. Lots of Buffalo Trace products. The gentleman that owns the store, Roy. Great palate. Really enjoy his picks.
Very cool. I am just going with a standard off-the-shelf Eagle Rare. That's not a pick, but it's still good.
You can't go wrong with Eagle Rare.
I don't disagree with you. People can detract all they want about the quality of Buffalo Trace products. I understand. There's a lot of hype over them, but at the end of the day, there's good stuff in their lineup. So
there's a reason why they're so hyped. It's because they're so good.
Exactly. And if they weren't good,
somebody, but
maybe Travis Gentz, but even still. Sorry, Cletus.
Oh, okay, I remember now. That's the guy that really loves Woodford, right?
Oh, he's a big Woodford fan. That's
what I heard.
Yeah, through a straw, preferably. But
has he ever done it through a crazy straw?
Yes. I want to say yes. I think that there's a picture of him doing that somewhere.
If not, he needs to get a crazy straw. That takes it to the next level.
He had like a reusable one at one point. Like a... Don't make that face. He took care of it. So I guess since we're not doing Flying Blind, I will still ask you, what have you been drinking recently, Adam?
That's a great question, Perry. Something different. I don't think any of your previous guests have said this, but Irish whiskey.
Oh, okay. That is different.
I've been kind of getting away from bourbon a little bit because of the culture, the communities that are, the people in Nashville. It's very confrontational right now. It's very aggressive, getting bottles and whatnot. So kind of distancing myself a little bit, I got into Irish whiskey a little last year, and I'm really enjoying Redbreast, Green Spot. I've even got a thing of Powers John's Lane that was highly recommended by the Whiskey Tribe guys.
Oh, wow. Okay. Cool.
Something different.
Yeah. So it's okay for you to drink Irish whiskey, but if I ever decide that I want to dabble a little bit in Scotch, then you'd start to denounce me?
That's right. Yeah. See, I'm Irish,
right.
heritage, so it's true. 23andMe said it was true.
Look, man, I'm not going to deny your heritage or anything. That's not for me to say one way or another. But, be true to yourself, I guess.
I am. I don't think be true about it. It said it was 99% UK, so who knows?
English of some sort. So last week was 114 Day, January 14th. So I just did at least 114 proof bourbons or whiskeys on my live stream. One of them was Noah's Mill. I hadn't had Noah's Mill in a long time, much less owned a bottle of it. And first pour out of it was okay, but once I really got into it, it had opened up pretty nicely. It's a pretty spectacular bottle, surprisingly.
Whiskey confession time. I've never had Noah's Mill.
Really?
Yeah, I've had Rowan's Creek a couple times. Noah's Mill has just been that little extra dollar amount that kind of pushes it over the edge for me.
Yeah.
And I've had a pour of it, but I've never bought a bottle.
Yeah, I can understand. I mean, it's not something that I normally would gravitate towards. In that price range, I would definitely prefer to get rare breed. So
exactly. Yeah, here in Nashville, the Nashville area, Noah's Mill's probably $60 to $65. So that's rare breed territory. That's like even some Four Roses, some other options.
What are you really seeing Four Roses single barrel picks for that cheap in Nashville?
I picked up a couple last year for, I think it was like $65 plus tax. So very similar price point. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Now most stores they are like 80, 85 now.
Yeah.
And one store is actually pushing 100.
Secondary prices.
Well, the crazy part is some of these bottles are selling for $300 or $400 on secondaries. Even at $100, if you play that game, it's not a bad purchase, but that's not my thing anymore.
Our buddy Christian DeGrave up in New York sent me and a couple other guys a picture, like back in December, of a Four Roses pick that he had acquired, and the picking team was I'm gonna have to go back and look at it because it was a really amazing team that selected this. Hold on. Pause for dramatic effect.
So side note, our friend Eric Smith posted on the This Is My Bourbon group, Facebook group, asked a great question. What single barrel that you have not gotten to pick yet that you'd like to pick? Four Roses is also one of those for me. I'd love to pick a Four Roses someday. I've heard Mandy and the Four Roses team are fantastic.
They are. I've gotten to do a Four Roses pick before with OBC, and it was just a spectacular experience. There's lost audio somewhere out in the ether that I recorded to and from on that day with Iverson and Justin, for that matter, in the car. Anyway, so nice. This Four Roses pick was selected by the Party Mart Board of Directors, which consists of Susan Regler, the author, who's written, she wrote the Kentucky Cocktail, or the Bourbon Cocktails book, Michael Veach, who is a phenomenal author as well, and Carla Carlton, who is the editor-in-chief of Bourbon Plus. And I really, 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 really wish that I had been able to find a bottle of that somewhere, because that's a spectacular picking team. And
I bet that bottle would have an excellent review in print.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just
Probably
in Whiskey
an
Advocate.
bottle in real life. But yeah, and Whiskey Advocate, 99 out of 100.
We'll have to talk about Lloyd Christmas at some point, too.
Oh, Lord.
Because he just, he loves going hard at Whiskey Advocate on Twitter. It's good stuff.
He is the stick that stirs the pot.
He is. He is the proverbial wooden spoon. Shall we talk about some news of the week,
Sure,
Adam?
Absolutely.
Let's start out with a couple of really awesome and exciting pieces of news from the Bourbon Women Association, first and foremost. They are in the midst of celebrating their 10th anniversary, and they have welcomed their newest president, Maggie Kimbrell, who you can find on Twitter, I believe, at LouGirl, and it might be LouGirl502. I can't remember for sure, but she has been a partner of Michael Veach's as well for a while, and just I couldn't think of anybody better suited in this point in time to take over this position. Maggie has always been fantastic whenever I've been able to interact with her on social media, and this is going to be a really exciting, I think, step moving forward for the folks over at Bourbon Women. This is just very, very cool to see.
Yeah, she's a writer for American Whiskey Mag. She's written a bunch of really interesting articles. I don't have any offhand, but she's a very good writer.
Yeah, she is. She is. I think that she did a cover story on Marianne Eaves in the same issue that we actually got into as well. With a
golf clap.
Yes, thank you. Much appreciated. But off the back of that, she is taking over for Sarah Barnes, who has actually moved over to the Kentucky Distillers Association as their director of, if my phone would ever load, industry responsibility
director.
and sustainability. Yes, correct.
Yeah. Now she's from Boone County.
Is she now?
Yeah, Boone County, the distillery. Who used to source some excellent MGP barrels, by the way.
Yes, they did.
But yeah, she's got a great history. I'm excited to see what she does. What do you think the responsibility director does?
Ooh, I imagine that most of it is the verbiage and the marketing towards, stay safe Kentucky, or it's, please enjoy bourbon responsibly. It's kind of like defining something with its definition or with the word itself,
right.
But I get the feeling that she's going to really step up and try to encourage people more to, drink responsibly and ensure that people are enjoying their bourbon the way that it was meant to be enjoyed.
Right. With no ice.
Hey man, look. There's nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong on a hot day if you want something a little higher proof to break out a couple of ice cubes and throw them in your rare breed. I mean, don't knock it. Don't knock it.
I don't knock it. I watched a video with Preston Van Winkle a while back. He was talking about how he went to a bar and ordered this is a poor pappy, and he asked for it on ice and something else, and the bartender was like, "We do not do that here. That is ruining fine whiskey." And he was like, "Let me just tell you, my grandfather ordered it on ice with a spritz of orange and an orange peel. So you can write it off, okay? You drink what you want to drink, how you want to drink it. That's
exactly.
The rule."
It's the best way to enjoy it. Thanks, Freddie Johnson.
Exactly. Love
Anyway,
Freddie.
Congratulations to Sarah and Maggie. Super, super cool to see both of them moving in those directions. I'm excited to see where this goes for them. MGP has also launched the 2021 Rossville Union Rye Single Barrel Program. Very exciting. Going to be at cast strength as well. I have not had a whole lot of experience with Rossville Union, but what I have had really has kind of been contained to the Bourbon on the Banks event that Swan and I were able to attend in 2019. And this was an excellent product from MGP. So I'm excited to see what this is going to look like once the picks start rolling in.
I agree. I'm a big fan of rye whiskey. Spurned on probably the last year or so from some local picks that we've done or we've had. a lot of the MGP, that 95.5 is classic rye.
Heck yes.
But from what I understand about this new Rossville Union Rye plan that they have, they're going to offer, I think, 3 different mash bills. So I'm super curious to see what those are going to be like at cask strength.
Yeah,
now,
absolutely.
Another thing is, I know that most of those come out around 4 years old, 4 or 5. I want to see if they have any older stuff. Like a 7-year rye would be fantastic.
Oh, I'm sure they do. I'm sure that there's something older in that mix. There's got to be, right?
Hopefully.
Maybe.
As you know, rye tastes good young, or if we're judging bourbon and rye at the same age, rye typically tastes a little better because it kind of hides some of those, grassy, hay, wet, cardboard notes that some, stuff has. But, man, I really enjoy older rye, which, again, I've gotten into the last year or so. A couple like Wilderness Trails got some excellent 5-6 year rye. Nashville Barrel Company's got some excellent rye.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, did you know that E.H. Taylor straight rye was not made at Buffalo Trace?
Yes, and there's something else about E.H. Taylor straight rye that I learned recently. I think it's that it's not their standard rye recipe.
Yeah, it's something different.
Yeah. Because in the regular...
From what I understand...
Go ahead.
From what I understand, it's actually distilled and partially aged at 1792, but bottled at Buffalo Trace. But it's a different rye recipe. Now, with Buffalo Trace, nothing's ever, out in the open as far as mash bill goes. But,
right.
Age, I've always assumed that the H. Taylor line was a little older, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. But, some of the speak on the internet says this is like a 5 or 6 year rye. It's not that old.
Yeah. So I took this note in my phone on March 7th of last year, which
wow.
I think it was at Whiskey Weekend. And it must have been from Joshua Steele, that Taylor rye is not the same mash bill as Sazerac. It doesn't have any corn in it. So
interesting.
I don't know if that means that it's 95.5 or if it's, 60-40 or 70-30 or what. But I it's one of those things you just want to know more, but you know that we're never going to find that information out from Buffalo Trace. They're always going to be just a little sneaky.
Now, the good part about this bourbon community and the bourbon culture is that somebody that probably knows Josh. You could probably ask on the DL, be like, hey, psst, Josh, how much rye is in this? He wouldn't tell us, but we'd ask.
Oh, of course. Maybe I'll ask his brother Chase.
Ooh. I do actually happen to have a bottle of E.H. Taylor straight rye here, so
I had some. I think Swan left his bottle over here for a while, and he was saying how good it is in an old fashioned. Hey, there you go, bottle chug. Is your wife going to be mad that I said that? Should I cut that out?
No, it's fine. She won't. She doesn't listen to podcasts.
Mine doesn't either. So. Anyway, he said it's really good in old fashions. So
I can see that.
Yeah.
Having had some 95.5 MGP rye earlier, this definitely reads a higher rye content. So if I had to guess, I would say it's at 70%, 80% rye.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. All right, let's move on. A new label has been released from the TTB. I say released, but it's not really. It's been submitted, I guess, for the Old Forester 117 series. Now, this is really interesting in that, one, it's going to be released in a 375. And it looks like it's going to be batched, but the main takeaway from it is that it's supposed to be from High Angel share barrels.
Yeah.
So, really, really specific things going on here with this. It looks like it's, at least for a placeholder, going to be about 110 proof. Having not been the biggest fan of Old Forester in general, part of me is curious what this is going to be like, but I just don't know if this is going to be the one that wins me over.
So hear me out, okay? Who owns Old Forester?
Brown-Forman.
Right. What other Tennessee distillery does Brown-Forman own?
Jack Daniels.
Right. So Jack Daniels does this interesting experiment called Tennessee Tasters, right?
Oh, okay.
So they're in 375s. They have certain experimental things like a high angel share product, roughly 100, 110, some are 120. I've got this Jack Daniels Barrel Proof Rye Tennessee Taster. It is fantastic.
Ooh.
I think this is kind of the same thing coming down from Brown-Forman. Old Forester has their, we'll call it Kentucky Tasters.
Sure.
Where Jack Daniels has Tennessee Tasters, or as we call it down here, Tater Tasters. They also have a high angel share product, and it is very interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see this more condensed Old Forester product.
Sure. Yeah. No, I am interested in tasting it for sure, but again, I'm just waiting for that one product that fully convinces me that Old Forester is deserving of laurels, I guess. And I know for a lot of people, it's 1920, and I do like 1920 a fair bit, but it just doesn't really do it for me the way that other people enjoy it. Hate to get back to it, but I would easily take Rare Breed over 1920.
Completely agree. In my mind, when I first got into whiskey, everybody says, all right, start off with the Buffalo Trace or Eagle Rare or Elijah Craig, something great entry level. And then a lot of people never go past that Woodford step.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's their elevated bourbon. For those of us in the community, our next step after Woodford was something like Old Forester 1920, right? That's another elevated step, higher proof, something a little different.
Yeah.
For me, I have a feeling that Old Forester is trying to come up with newer iterations of their standard classic, their one product, kind of like Turkey does.
Yeah.
And branch out a little bit. Now, I will say, Jackie Zykin, man, she is fantastic. She has the palate for this. I'm not a huge fan of 1920. I think it's better blended with 1910, as we call it 1915. But I am a fan of birthday bourbon at MSRP.
Well,
and I will definitely try. I'm not gonna go out and spend $600 on it, but I definitely enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if this 117 series can come in at, we'll say $40 or less, I would definitely try it.
For sure. All right, moving on to the releases of the week. Not a whole lot that we'll touch on, but I do want to mention at least a couple. First off, there are two new releases from the Kentucky Artisan Distillery, the same folks who are in charge of the Jefferson's products. This is Coalition Barrel Rye. One is a finished rye, and the other is barrel proof. They're both, it appears to be, 100% rye. Spice bomb, man. I'm
excited.
I am too. I'm very excited. It is a little bit on the expensive side, though. The finished rye is going to be $90, and the barrel proof rye is going to be $130. It does kind of make up for it with the proof at 108.8. I would like for there to be an age statement on it, but I don't know. I feel like at that point I'm just kind of splitting hairs, Yeah.
So yeah, you're fighting with Whistle Pig and things like that have a finished rye. Granted, Whistle Pig's a little more expensive. Their Old World, I want to say it's like 120-ish.
Yeah. So
again, I'd like to try it, but I would have to try it first. That's going to be a bar for me before I buy.
I agree. And then we're also going to discuss the Family Jones Inauguration Bottled and Bond Rye, which is a Colorado rye, of course at 100 proof, $80 a bottle, 4 years old. It's going to be very limited with only 380 bottles out there. I am interested in this. I think that Colorado is one of those places where stuff is coming out from them, products are coming out from them, but nobody's paying enough attention to it. Do you know what I mean? Like there's 291.
What's the other one? It's 291.
Yeah,
Fred loves 291.
Yeah, and I like 291 quite a bit too, from the little bit that I've had. But you picked up a bottle this week too, didn't you? From Colorado?
Did I? Oh, I picked up a High West, so Utah, but still out west. That region is putting out some really great stuff.
Yeah,
mine happened to be a High West double rye finished in cognac barrels.
Okay, I could have
very interesting. I think
I could have sworn that there was one from Colorado that you picked out.
I don't think so. I don't think I have anything from Colorado. I've never seen a 291 here in Tennessee.
It's expensive, man.
I've never picked that up.
Is it? Yeah, it's expensive stuff. I think that typically it's about $100 a bottle. So,
oof.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all.
I'll stick to my Buffalo Trace.
Stick to your Maker's 46.
Actually, I do like some Maker's 46. Actually, so quick story, real quick.
Go for it.
The last time I was in Kentucky, I went by Maker's Mark and popped into the gift shop. Yeah. And this was right before they had the little gift set that's been out now.
Yeah.
I picked up a bottle of the Bill Samuels Maker's finishing series, which is basically just Maker's 46 a cask.
Yeah.
And it's pretty dang good.
Yeah, I agree. I like 46 cask. But
not my favorite whiskey, but it was one of those stepping stones, kind of like 1920.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that 46 cask it's an all-around solid product. It's not anything I would go to frequently, but still good, man. Still enjoy it.
Absolutely.
So we wanted to talk about this, and I wanted to talk about this topic of conversation specifically with Adam because over the past couple of months, I would say, you've started to notice the cracks in specifically the online bourbon community and the online bourbon culture. And so I wanted us to kind of take a step back and discuss what the culture and the community look like in 2021, how it got to the point that it is right now, and what the future of it might hold. Because I think that it's something that we should be, in a sense, hyper aware of, because it does shape a lot of how the industry takes on our interests and our spending habits and this, that, and the other. I forgot. I poured a little bit of the Virgin 101. So
I'll have the same. This is the old age-stated 7-year.
That's what I got.
I found this at a little truck stop in Kentucky, if you were. Oh, nice.
Age-stated as well. Mine's running a little low, but I need to. I see you. I see you over there.
Might be full.
I need to hit up Todd Cooper to get me another.
Where's Todd Cooper at? Is it Ohio?
Ohio, yeah.
Ohio. Okay, that's what I thought. The Virgin's only in like what? Ohio, North Carolina, and something else.
Like
Indiana?
Yeah, maybe Georgia. I don't know why I want to say, or Alabama.
Alabama, I think is right. Yeah, or Georgia, one of the two.
Yeah,
Alabama. We'll go with that. Roll the Tide.
Regardless,
I hate Alabama. But anyway, sorry.
So I wanted to kind of give you the opportunity first off to talk about what it is that you have been so frustrated with in bourbon culture, in bourbon community right now. And you did say up top that you were kind of moving away from bourbon a little bit more and you're starting to get into Irish whiskey. So from your experience, and we can talk about how this relates to other people's issues with the community too, because I do think that it's a shared experience in many ways. But I just want to look at a case study and then jump off from there. So By all means, the floor is yours.
So a little backstory for me. I got into whiskey in 2016. I had some whiskey in college way back, forever ago. But I was kind of focused on Scotch back then, funny enough. Didn't really enjoy it, so kind of left whiskey. 2016, I go on a work trip. Boss gives me some whiskey, says, "Hey, try this." I'm like, "Wow, this is fantastic. What is this?" He goes, "It's this thing called Van Winkle." And I was like, "Oh, cool. I don't know what that is." I didn't know it was old Rip Van Winkle. I was like, "Oh, this is pretty dang good." So I go home, I start researching. I'm like, "Holy crap, these things are like $100."
Yeah.
No, I can't afford that. Anyway, I joined up a local Nashville bourbon group called Nashville Bourbon Barrel on Facebook. At the time, there were, I want to say, like 800 people in this group, which is fairly big, considering Kentucky's kind of the bourbon mecca for us. Tennessee's more focused on Jack and things like that, or was at the time. So in this group, we have lots of good conversations, very deep, lots of good meetups, lots of good friends made. I think that's one of the highlights for me in this bourbon community. I've made more friends in the bourbon community, like actual real life friends, not internet friends, also internet friends, but real life friends, than I have ever made anywhere else.
Agree.
It's so nice to find a common passion that you can talk about and share.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. So
no. I was just gonna say I totally agree. And for me, it really kind of took off, of course, when I started the podcast and was able to really expand my reach and my horizons to where I started, just talking to more people and in a way, I feel like being a part of this community has helped me become more extroverted as well and open up to people and have those conversations and just really get to know people more. And I'm 100% on board with you. I also feel like I have made more friends since getting into bourbon than I ever have.
I totally agree. In college, I was very introverted, didn't want to go out, didn't want to make a lot of friends. Had some good friends that kind of pushed me a little bit to get out there, which was great. But this bourbon community is really something different. And I think when I joined in 2016, 17, it was really spectacular. Lots of great people, lots of good friends, lots of people willing to share samples, share bottles, reach out and say, "Hey, how you doing? What you doing this weekend? Let's get together." I loved it. The more I got into it, the more I wanted to talk about it. And then, you find out how deep that rabbit hole goes eventually.
Yeah, of course.
And then I started noticing in 2018, I started noticing some of these, I'll call little sections of the community start to pop out. In high school, we would call them, different little, groups, little cliques.
Yeah.
You have your sporty people, your nerds, your goth kids, your emo kids, whatever. In the bourbon community, you had, I would call 70% of us were just kind of average everyday Joes. 10% of that group would probably be, the high-end luxury drinkers. So your Willets, your BTAC collection, stuff like that. You had about 10% that was focused on single barrel picks. That was really their driving focus. But then you had this 10% of the community that really just wanted to be a jerk. They really just wanted to rub their purchases in your face, show you what they have and what you don't have and why they're better than you. And the one that really got me was there were a couple of guys in the Nashville bourbon community that started being very aggressive, very disparaging towards some of the ladies. And I'm not trying to white knight anything here. It's just, I don't think it's nice. Don't be a jerk. Everybody deserves the right to drink bourbon, no matter who you are, no matter what you look like, as long as you're 21. So we didn't really hit it off that well. And long story short, the admin team of that group didn't want to do anything about it. So I started my own group. I was like, this is it. We're going to be more inclusive. Everybody's welcome.
Yeah.
Everybody can love their own stuff. Over time, that went great. But over time, that main Nashville club that had 800 people continued to grow along with the Nashville actual, the city itself growing. Yep. Today, that same Nashville group has over 3,000 people.
Wow.
So it is a very large group. At that same time, those percentages, those different cliques also continue to grow. And so everybody wants to have their own special place where they can focus on barrel picks or focus on, stores or whatever you want to focus on that you love in the bourbon realm. Those 10% of jerks, went from 50, 60 people to now there's hundreds of them. And I think that we're starting to see some of that really come out. And I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy being around some of these people.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that has made me kind of take a step back and go, bourbon is just a hobby. It's something fun to drink, fun to get with some friends. And the moment it becomes too serious, where it's more about the chase and the purchase and the brag, that's too far for me.
The pissing contest of it all.
Exactly, yeah. Have you experienced some of that?
I would say yes, but I think that in a little bit more of an isolated experience. Like I don't know if I've seen it quite to the extent that you have, and I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, because by no means would I try to disagree with you on that. I do believe that it's all a measuring contest in some ways. And what I have gotten a little bit more tired of, or a little bit more frustrated with, is the people who, and if it's your personality, that's fine. I don't mind. You do whatever it is that you consider to be best for you. But just everybody who has to find that last piece of the puzzle. And it's not necessarily because they are trying to complete a collection, but they see it as a status symbol.
Yeah.
Right?
Get all the Wellers, right? Get all the B tags.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not even a situation where it's somebody wants to drink it. It's just for collection purposes.
Yeah.
And again, fine. If you want to collect a bunch of bottles, if that's how you want to spend your money, and you want that to be your retirement plan, or pass it on to whomever, by all means, do that. That's totally fine. I'm not knocking you. But that is something I feel like should be much more private than the internet has led people to believe. Right?
Yep.
And
I agree.
In many ways, the culture that has been cultivated by the internet and the bourbon community can be so toxic at times. And even if it's just as simple as disagreeing with whether or not somebody likes a bottle. I mean, that's one thing in and of itself. But then, like, go so far as, like, shaming people for being ISO a bottle, or, just hunting around talking about their newest pick that they like so much, or whatever. It's just so difficult to, and this is true not just for bourbon, but to have an opinion and not be berated for it.
Yeah, so I think that's part of today's culture. Everybody shares everything. Mm-hmm. Any social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Everybody shares so much about their personality. It's not just bourbon, but everybody's entitled to their opinion. You're also entitled to be wrong, but that's a different story. You're allowed to like what you like. If you're Travis Gins down in Texas and you love Woodford for real, that's fine. Love Woodford. Enjoy your Woodford. But, Joe Schmo up in New York who only drinks Pappy 23, leave him alone. Don't be a jerk. That's my golden rule. Like what you like, drink what you want to drink, share with your friends, your family, enjoy bourbon. That's what it's here for. If you want to collect it like sneakers or Pokemon cards, be my guest. That's your thing.
Do you feel
and
like
you know what? If you want to share that online, go for it.
Do you feel like the sharing with people aspect of bourbon has kind of diminished a little bit recently? And I don't know if it's, I mean, part of it could be recency bias. We were saying that, 2020 caused part of it, but I don't know if that's entirely true. I mean, I just think that people are getting more and more selfish and guarded with what they have to where they don't want to, include other people in it.
I definitely see that. They're twofold. I agree with you. And then there are certain groups out there that are the exact opposite. All they want to do is share.
Yeah.
There's some cost and shipping groups out there, or cost groups, where, if you're looking for a barrel 18-year bourbon, they will go out and find it for you. Or if they find it, they'll tag you in it, But yes, I do agree that it seems like these rare allocated bottles that come out, a lot of people like to hold on to them as like there's some kind of prized possession. Not that it's a bottle meant to be enjoyed,
Yeah.
And it's one thing if you want to enjoy it for your birthday or a special occasion, or you're saving it for the birth of your daughter, for instance. Yeah. That's awesome. That's great. I do the same thing. I've got a bottle of Blanton stashed away for my daughter when she turns 21-ish,
I like the self-editing that happened there. That was nice.
At the end of the day, I still believe that bourbon is meant to be enjoyed, whether that's now or later. I think that you should drink it.
Yeah.
And if you want to, I'm not of the opinion today that bourbon is an investment. Not saying it can't be.
Yeah.
There are definitely people out there that do that, but it's just not for me. I want to drink it. Most of my bottles are open. Only a handful aren't, and those are saving for a special occasion. Yeah.
Yeah. I am very much of that same mindset too, that if I have it one way or another, it's probably going to get consumed. And I do this thing. I've talked about it on the show before, where I get something limited or allocated and I just get so dang excited about it that I almost overshare it. Like any opportunity that I have, I'll bring it out so somebody can try it, but then I'll also try it with them. Yeah,
you'll force it on people. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I open up their mouth with a funnel and I just, pour it right in. No,
It's much easier to do on a bird than a human. I'm just saying.
Look, man, he's never told me to stop. So.
Do you understand bird?
Oh, shoot.
You know what they say here in Tennessee, sheep only say one thing, it's bye. So
I need to make some
Alabama.
I need to make some calls. So
ooh, out. I gotta go.
No, no, it's just I get so excited about it that I want other people to try it, and I want that shared experience. But to its own detriment, that means that I wind up with half a bottle much quicker than I would otherwise.
But you have half a bottle full of experience and friendship and the things that truly matter in life. Yep.
I totally agree with you.
Will you remember in 30 years that you had a bottle of Weller CYPB? Or will you remember the time that we had brunch together with Donnie and Diana in Cool Springs?
Oh, absolutely going to remember that way more than the bottles that I have.
Yeah.
So
again, that's what it's like for me today. Is I'm trying to step back a little bit, share a little more, make more friends. I'm not chasing bottles anymore. I think that's kind of out of my days here. Kind of retired from that, I guess. I'm not going to say no to an Eagle Rare 17, but I'm definitely enjoying the bourbon more today than I have been. And I think that is, back to the question, more because of COVID, We haven't been able to get out as much and to share as much.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, I think that is a really good point to be made, that the pandemic did allow for us to be much more introspective in more ways than one. I mean, not just from I say self-help, but that's not really the word that I'm looking for. But
I look at it I look at it as self-care.
Self-care, that's what I was looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, we all deserve self-care, whether that's, getting a haircut, getting a new outfit, just taking a candy bar and a Coke, whatever makes you feel good. I think we deserve that. You know?
I totally agree. As long as it's within reason and not hurting anybody else.
100%. Yeah.
So I think what we're kind of getting at right now is that the culture that we have cultivated, or that has been established over the past few years, in some ways is very toxic. And this isn't like we're not having like a come to Jesus moment or what is the word? An intervention or anything like that. It's just weird. There is an aspect of this community that feels just upside down broken.
Yeah.
And so antithetical to what so many of us enjoyed about it when we first got into it. And there are communities, there are societies within bourbon that are doing really good things by raising money for charity or finding ways to support their local community in one way or another. But it's just a very different face than was initially put on when things really started ramping up.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, as Willie Nelson said, sometimes I'm my own grandpa. We have cultivated this community. We are the cultivators. So it's our job to, as bourbon enthusiasts, to step up to the plate and say, no, this isn't okay. We're not going to be snobby. We're not going to make fun of people for liking Blanton's or liking Woodford or whatever you want to like. That's fine. Yeah. It's our job to step up and say, that's not okay. It is okay to like what you want to like. And I think we need to do a better job of that. And I am seeing some of that in the Nashville area. There are more, I guess I'll call them old timers, maybe not like older people, but just OG people that have been around for a little while. They're starting to step up and say, you know what? Yeah, exactly. The community elders, they are stepping up and saying, actually, this is really good. Or if somebody asks a very basic question, like, where can I find a Blanton's? Instead of laughing and saying, haha, good luck, they'll actually say, hey, maybe you should cultivate a relationship with your local store, or here's where you could look online. They're being more helpful. So I'm seeing it change. It's just slow.
And I don't mean to confine this conversation just to the digital community, although it is a major player right now. It's not the end all be all. And here we sit on a podcast which is released digitally to people, but in many ways, the community that we have been able to build around the podcast, and that other outlets as well have been able to build, have been one of the more inclusive ones, have been, a space for people to come in and actually feel welcome, right? And that doesn't just begin and end at the online interactions. And it goes back to what we were saying, that we've made more real life friends through bourbon than maybe ever before. And I'm a firm believer in that, especially once you get to go to events like, the live show that we did in 2019. Had to think about it for a minute. I was like, was that a year ago or 2 years ago? But sure enough, that was almost 2 years ago.
Do you remember the dinner meetup afterwards where everybody got together at the table at that restaurant?
Yeah.
The restaurant.
Yeah.
We had great pours. They had like old Rip Van Winkle. I want it was like $15 a pour.
It was so cheap.
And it was a deep pour too.
Yeah.
That's where I met so many people there. I met Monica there and her husband. I met Dustin. I think Dustin was there.
Yeah,
right?
Dustin and Misty were both there.
So these are the memories that I think that I focus on more. Is again, it's not so much the chase, it's the people, the friendships. And I think because of 2020 and the pandemic and staying inside, that has hurt our relationships more, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And being behind a computer, it's a lot easier to be more frustrated and more kind of aggressive and kind of rude than it is in person.
And it is true. There's been a lot of anger boiling over the past year. I mean, just an insane amount of frustration that people have felt since February or March of 2020. And so I get it that people are more willing to speak out about something that they don't agree with. And, again, that's part of the culture that we're in the midst of experiencing, socially, politically, culturally, whatever.
Yep.
The point of it all is that, the more disconnected that we get from people, the more connected we feel to our own emotions or beliefs, whether they be, positive or negative. And 2020 was not a great time for us to start lashing out, but here we are.
You're not wrong. I've heard a lot of negativity this past year. 2020 sucks. 2020 is the worst year ever. Everybody hates 2020. For me personally, 2020 was a great year. I
had a really good 2020. I mean, I became a dad in 2020.
You have a beautiful daughter now, man. It's so good. And your podcast is doing fantastic. You have excellent content, and this is not just because I'm on it or anything, but excellent content.
Well, I really do appreciate that, though.
You have good hosts. You have good people. You have a good sense of humor. You do laugh too much, is what I hear.
Oh, come on. Come on.
But no, all in all, 2020 for me was a great year. I did get furloughed. I got let go of my job back in May. Mm-hmm. Got a new job, making more money with a better work-life balance, better boss, better company. My wife and I are doing better because I'm working farther away. So I don't see her as behind the scenes. We worked at the same company, the same office for over 5 years.
Wow.
And when you see your spouse a lot, you don't have anything to talk about when you come home. You don't have to, how was your day? Yeah. So my relationship is doing better. My daughter, who's almost 2, is doing fantastic.
And she's amazing too, man.
She is an amazing tornado. Yeah. She's crazy.
I was talking with somebody recently who was like, they always warn you about the terrible 2s, but they never mention the awful 3s. So. Oh yeah.
Oh, I have a spoiler for you.
Do share.
It comes faster than the 2s. Okay. So mine is just over 20 months old, and she knows over 250 words.
Wow.
A half a dozen phrases and sayings. She speaks her mind, and she is what's a nice word for it? Kind of rude occasionally.
That's a nice word.
Honey, do you want to go outside? You want to go look at some flowers? She just go, no. Who taught you that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's me. Of course it's me.
I can't remember. I think it was Swan that was saying that he couldn't wait for us to experience the sarcasm in our daughter that we have so relied upon since our relationship began. So,
yep.
Yeah, I think I am excited for that moment where it's just like, oh, you're me, but at the same time,
exactly. Oh no.
Yeah, that's the other half of it, where it's like, please don't be like me. But anyway, that's dad talk for episode 162.
It makes me kind of reflect a little bit and go, man, I was probably this way as a kid too.
Yeah.
And I feel so bad for my mom and my dad. And,
has she dropped an F-bomb yet or anything?
No. My wife is a saint. I love my wife deeply. She doesn't curse a lot. I, on the other hand, have a sailor mouth. So I try to get that away from my daughter. But when my daughter literally today, as she was getting ready to leave, she wanted to hug me. And so I went in for a hug. And instead of a hug, she just shoved her forehead into my face at a really fast rate of speed. She headbutted me. Yes, not a joke. And it hurt. And I was like, oh,
yeah.
bleep. And I was like, oh, but
thank you for censoring yourself, by the way.
I am both, I'm both amazed and delighted and scared about my daughter.
Yeah, yeah. Even, I mean,
anyway, dad talk.
Yeah, ours is 3 months old, and I feel that. I feel that as well. So
it's so much better.
I believe it.
And worse, but
so we'll get away from dad talk, the dad talk segment of the episode, and kind of I want to wrap up on a slightly more positive note, because I do think it's important to talk about not just what we like, but what we think can be done to improve this community and this culture. And again, I don't think it's inherently 100% true, but there is a lot of brokenness that can be felt in the bourbon community right now. Where do we think this is going to go? I mean, I don't think it's it's going to self-heal over time. I think it's something we have to, be very proactive about.
Yeah. I used the term yesterday, talking to a friend about this, about the Nashville area community. It's fractured. There are so many, instead of being one group of individuals where everybody's kind of on the same page, there are so many different groups and so many different niches or cliques. Everybody has their own intention and what they want, and that's fine. But we need a little more community. We need a little more social responsibility. We need to be kind to one another. And this, again, it's not me telling you how to live your life, but for those elders among us in these groups, I think that we need to be a little more upfront and be like, hey, we're not going to tolerate any kind of gross negativity. We're not going to tolerate any sexism or racism or any kind of thing like that. We're here to enjoy and celebrate whiskey. So we're going to love it. We're going to taste it. We're going to give our notes and what we think and what we like and don't like. Opinions are 100% fine. But when that opinion becomes personal, that's where it crosses that line for me.
Yeah.
But on a positive note, I am seeing lots of other great communities out there flourish because of the people in charge.
Yeah.
I'm in a cost and shipping group, or rather an at-cost group, and it is fantastic. There are so many nice and just decent people out there that will go out of their way to send you a sample or hunt you down a bottle that you're looking for.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just genuinely nice to have friends. You know?
I agree. And go ahead.
As an example, we did a little Secret Santa, gift exchange. And we tried to keep it themed. Like, I'm from the Nashville area, so I got a little Bell Mead and I got a little Jack Daniels, and I sent that to my Secret Santa person. The other person that sent me stuff doesn't understand what money is. They sent me a sample of 2020 George T. Stagg, 2019's Van Winkle Family Rye, a sample of a Willett Family Reserve, Angel's Envy Cellar Edition, the port finish, I think.
Goodness gracious.
Like, dude, holy crap. It's that kind of over the top community that wow, these people genuinely care about you. It's super nice to be around.
Yeah, I agree. And to kind of piggyback off of that as well, when and we were kind of waiting until we found out what day Eden was actually going to be born, because she was 6 days past her due date by the time she was delivered. But there was just kind of this consensus within our little group that became a thing because of the podcast, and we all chat together on a very, very frequent basis. And I don't even.
Sometimes too frequent.
I don't. Yeah. Well, but I love you guys. That's what I want to say. But everybody was just like, immediately, if we can find a bottle with her birth date on it, you're gonna get it. And I was like, okay. And it turned out to be a Jack Daniel's single barrel proof that I have to hide it from myself, because I did open it after you gave it to me because I was interested what it was gonna, what it was like. Oh, puppy. I actually didn't know you had a dog.
Yeah, we have, this is I want to say she's 16 years old now, little Yorkie Westie mix. She got in a little bit of a dogfight with her sister, and she lost her ear.
Holy moly.
It's the blood vessels in her ear, yeah.
Wow. That's wild.
She's super sweet, but very annoying too.
Yeah, I feel that.
Anyway,
yeah, I have to hide that Jack Daniel's bottle because it is so good. And
is it good?
It's really, really good. It's pick up one of those. One of the better single barrel proofs that I've had. So, again, I have to hide it from myself. I have to keep it far away so that, it can be saved for when Eden's of age. We can actually drink it together.
There are more in town, so if you want another one, just let me know.
I'm just going to go ahead and say yes, because
we'll make it work.
Yeah, I'm not upset about that. We are pouring, I guess, maybe one of our last for the episode with Rare Breed. Yeah. Because, why the heck not? But I just, to wrap it up, I do want to say, not all aspects of this community or this culture are so divisive. I think that there are plenty of really good people in it, plenty of folks who want to support what you do and inspire you to pay it forward in many ways. But as with anything, there is room for improvement. And I'm not a big fan of giving up. I'm maybe to a fault. But I do look forward to seeing what I guess we could consider improvement over the next couple of years. And it's, again, not going to be immediate. I don't think it's anything that, without collectively saying something needs to be done about this, we're going to immediately resolve. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel to be, proverbial.
Yeah, I've got hope.
I do too.
Yeah.
Genuinely, I do.
I have to say the last couple months have been a lot more positive. Lots of people reaching out and saying, hey, really excited about upcoming barrel picks or upcoming get-togethers as soon as we can do it, safely, healthy. I think this year is going to be very important for our communities, right? So get with your community, find out how you can share, how you can make new friends, how you can get out there and enjoy life a little more, other than just being cooped up behind a computer screen.
Yeah, absolutely. As we sit behind a computer screen talking to each other for a podcast.
But I get to see you though, and your beautiful hair.
That is true. Well, thank you. It's driving me a little bit crazy right now, but your beard is beautiful again. Beard.
This is just called laziness.
But you do now have a gorgeous handlebar mustache. So,
unfortunately,
would you ever
get to my face when I eat?
Would you ever go just handlebar mustache?
Ooh, so I've got a really good friend. His name's Jay, and he has this excellent sheriff mustache. Uh-huh. It is so good.
It's a good mustache.
As a matter of fact, our upcoming, not to toot my own horn here, but we did an excellent bullet pick that should be landing any day now.
Oh, I can't wait to try
it. And our sticker on the back has this very werewolf kind of situation with a cop or a sheriff, shooting at the werewolves. It's basically our friend Jay, who's got this excellent police handlebar mustache.
So good.
It is fantastic. I keep asking him to grow it out, but apparently it's against police regulations.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, fair enough. Regardless. Yeah. That's our conversation on bourbon community and bourbon culture. albeit all over the place at times, but
I hate to feel whiny about it, but like, you know, when you see a problem, you got to call it out and you got to fix it.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. We should move on, though, to tips and bits, where we recommend things for people.
How does this work again?
Well, it's usually not bourbon related. Sometimes it is. But for the most part, it's things that we've been enjoying. We want other people to check out as well. I want to do kind of a joint one between us. We both discovered our mutual love for blueberry cake donuts this past week.
Oh.
Those are the end-all, be-all donut for me. So where's your preferred vendor?
So here in Nashville, we have, of course, we have Krispy Kreme, we have Shipley's, and we've got a couple other little like house brand donut places. But me personally, my favorite blueberry cake donut is Shipley's Donuts.
Okay.
Krispy Kreme is a close second. And there's like this little place called the Donut Den. It's kind of a little close one. They're pretty good too.
Yeah. I'll have to next time I make it down to Nashville, whenever that may be. I'll have to check that out. What other tips and bits do you have, Adam?
So I have a couple. I did plan ahead for this. I have a show, I have a podcast, and I have a video game recommendation.
Awesome. Go for it.
Yes. So number one, the show. This is actually thanks to our buddy Swan, who got me to this one. Queen's Gambit on Netflix.
So good, man.
Fantastic series. I'm not a huge chess person, but I really enjoyed the series. It's so great show.
I don't think that you have to be a chess person to enjoy that show.
Yeah, you don't. It's just a drama show. I really enjoyed it. And it's relatively short. Like, you can knock it out in a weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And a significant portion of it takes place in Lexington, where I'm from.
Heard, they said something about this Keeneland place, and I was like, Keeneland, where have I heard that before? Oh yeah, it's in Lexington.
They also go to, for a chess tournament, my high school that I graduated from.
Really?
Yeah, and it's nothing close to what my high school looks like now or looked like then. And the mascot colors are way off too, but artistic license, I guess.
Of course.
You had a podcast as well?
Yeah, number two for me is a podcast called The Last Podcast on the Left.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this one's a little different. If you are into the crime or murder or serial killer kind of genre, this is a great podcast. They've been around for like 5 or 6 years. They do some really great deep dives on serial killers like Jeffrey Dahmer and John Wayne Gacy. Super interesting, very funny. Check them out. Do it in daylight.
Okay, sure.
I don't know how you like I don't know if you like serial killer stuff. We haven't really talked about that before, but I enjoy it.
In small doses, and if it doesn't feel too real. So I'm not a big true crime guy. Sarah and Dad are. They love true crime and true crime podcasts, but it's not really my bag for the most part, but I'll get into it every now and then, maybe.
I want to say I actually learned about this podcast from your sister.
More than likely.
I think she put it on Instagram one day, and I've been hooked. I've listened to almost every episode now. Super nice. They keep it really lighthearted and funny. Lots of jokes.
Nice.
So not too bad.
Sure.
Finally, a video game.
Yes.
So I'm not a gamer per se. I don't have a PlayStation or an Xbox anymore. I do have a pretty good computer. So if you have a PC or if you have a Switch, Stardew Valley.
I've got to play Stardew Valley.
Man, it is so good.
Yeah. I've heard people prefer it over Animal Crossing.
My wife would disagree with that, but my wife is addicted to Animal Crossing.
Yeah. I need to log in
my
today.
sister, as a matter of fact. You have to explain to me why you have to log in every day. That's how they get you. But Stardew Valley is like a really unique kind of like a 2D, 3D game. If any of us are old enough on Facebook to remember Farmville, it's kind of like that.
Of course.
But what way more unique, and what really got me was the creator of the game made everything himself. originally.
Wow.
It was all done by hand. The music, the art, the game, everything was done by one person.
Wow, that's incredible.
And it was like, wow, this is a really great game. Yeah. And it's super cheap too.
Yeah, it's only like $30, right? I think that's what it is on the Nintendo shop.
I think you're right. I think on Steam, if you're a PC gamer, it's like $15, and I think on Nintendo it's like 30.
Yeah.
Or at least it was.
That's what I need is another game to get into. I say sarcastically.
This one you can sink some time into, but it's not one that you'll like get frustrated at. It's just it's a nice chill game. You make your farm. You enjoy the little social aspect of the game.
Yeah.
They just came out with a recent patch. It's like update 1.5. Has a lot of new stuff in it. So I highly encourage any gamers out there to check out Stardew.
I'm gonna have to just take the plunge and get into it because I have been kind of putting it off as like maybe eventually, but that's also because I mean specifically right now I am still just up to my eyeballs in Super Mario Odyssey. So which again I think I said it either last week or a couple weeks ago, has very quickly become my favorite Mario game of all time. It's hands down just one of the most beautifully crafted Mario games. It is the most beautifully crafted. I'm just going to go out and say it. I think it's wonderful. It's fantastic.
When I get a chance at the Switch, whenever my wife puts it down, I've been playing a little Zelda. It's not too bad.
You've been playing Link's Awakening, right? Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
You definitely need to at some point check out Breath of the Wild.
I tried it out at a Target one day, like before all the Switches disappeared, during COVID. And I did enjoy it, but I haven't had a chance to play it since. So I definitely need to check it out.
You should. You should for sure. Let's see. We're still making our way through Community. This is my first watch of it. I think that I can say this publicly. It's pretty well known by this point, but our buddies over at the Hop-Ons podcast, who started out doing Arrested Development, and they moved into Twin Peaks, and they finished up Twin Peaks, and now they're actually moving on to Community to review on their show. So I figured it was as good a time as any to get into it for the first time. We're on the last season. Honestly, it very quickly became one of my top 10 favorite shows of all time. It's absolutely phenomenal. I think Dan Harmon is an undercredited genius for his work in television. I think he's kind of a bizarre person in and of himself. I don't know if you've ever listened to his podcast, but it's kind of it's a bit of a tough listen at times.
I haven't, but I'm a huge fan of Rick and Morty, so
I do love Rick and Morty.
Anything similar with the same kind of humor, then I definitely need to watch.
It is. It is. But we're finishing that up, and also, I can't believe I haven't mentioned this on the show before, but Sturgill Simpson put out basically like I wouldn't say compilation albums, even though they kind of are, but they're bluegrass versions of his music. It's so good. It's incredible. And I love his music as is, but taking this really twangy bluegrass approach to his songs has elevated it in a way that I was not expecting at all. And he is a master craftsman at what he does.
I totally agree. I'm not a huge country music fan. I used to listen to a lot of it as a kid. I grew up in Nashville, so kind of expected to. I'm more of like the classic rock kind of genre most days, but a coworker of mine was listening to his Cutting Grass album, the Volume 1, and I was like, what is this? This is fantastic. And I was listening to that thing probably nonstop for about 2 weeks.
Uh-huh.
So good.
Yeah.
And his second one came out a couple weeks ago, and I haven't really dived into that too much yet.
Yeah, I haven't had the time to listen to Volume 2 nearly as much as Volume 1. I want to find Volume 1 on vinyl. I want it on vinyl so badly. It's like a John Deere yellow and green vinyl.
Yeah,
I am all about that. I think that looks so cool. But
totally on purpose too.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Alrighty, well, I think that does it for this week's episode. Thank you all so much for listening. And Adam, thank you for being a guest host this week. What are your thoughts on Rare Breed? You look like you had something to say.
Oh, I was just going to say this was that famed LLGC batch that everybody went crazy for. And it is fantastic.
It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. Is there anywhere that people can follow up with you on social media if they would like to do that?
Sure. I have 2 pages, one for me personally and one for my bourbon group on Instagram. My personal one is at Adam Terry. It's very creative, early adopter. And my bourbon group is Nashville Bourbon Society. That's at Nashville Bourbon Society on Instagram. Again, super creative. But yeah, throw me a follow. I'll follow you back and chat about bourbon.
You know, we should have mentioned, I don't think we actually mentioned up top that you all are the group that we did Riffmas through. So
right.
You guys are responsible for that. Maybe we'll have some Riffmas on the last call if you like.
Sure. I've got one here.
Cool. Sounds good to me. If you want to...
Excellent experience, by the way.
Yes.
Loved having you guys. That was a super fun experience to share with you guys.
It was a very long process of debating on which barrel we were gonna pick, and maybe we could talk about that on last call as well, because we've not ever really discussed that
Sure.
with any listeners. But yeah, we could do that. So if you want to follow me personally, I am at PRitter1492 on all social media channels. The show itself is at My Bourbon Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can leave us a 5-star rating and review on the iTunes podcast app or wherever it is that you review or listen to the show, rather. And we will check that out, read it out here on the show. It is a super helpful way for us to reach new listeners, shoots us up in the charts, as well as when people go to search for bourbon podcasts in those apps, we will actually pop up a little bit further ahead. And I think when you search bourbon in the podcast app on Apple, we're like 5th or 6th that comes up. So I don't know if we're ever going to get ahead.
Number 1 in my heart.
Aw, Adam. I don't know if we're ever going to get ahead of Bourbon Pursuit, but even still, I love those guys. And actually going to have them on my live stream here soon, too, to talk about Pursuit United, rather. So
sweet.
Very excited about that. Speaking of my live stream, I go live every Thursday night on youtube.com/thisismybourbonpodcast at 8 p.m. That's Eastern time. A random array of topics and tastings. It just kind of depends on what I'm feeling like that week. Have a guest every now and then. Like I said, Kenny and Ryan from Bourbon Pursuit are going to be on here in the coming weeks, so look out for that. You can send all questions or comments or thoughts to thisismybourbonshop@gmail.com. You can become a part of our Facebook group at facebook.com. You just search for This Is My Bourbon Group. A couple of questions to make sure that you know where you are and why you're there, and then we will let you in. Adam is one of our admins/moderators over there as well, and he does an excellent job of deciding whether or not you're allowed to participate in such events. But yeah, we hit 300 members the other day. It's not a huge milestone, but it's pretty cool that 300 people are.
That is awesome
over there. So go and check that out. And last but not least, patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast for as little as $1 a month is where you can support the show on a monthly basis or a yearly basis, because that is now available if you would like to switch to a yearly subscription, get it all out of the way at one time. However, it does help us a little bit more if you go for the monthly subscription. That being said, though, whatever support you feel like you would like to give to the show, we really do appreciate it. It starts at $1 a month. For $5 a month, you get the bonus content, like the pregame chats and the last call. There are some bonus episodes that I have backlogged as well that I need to get back into doing monthly releases of. 2020 was going to be the year that I was going to be really, really on top of bonus episodes, and here we are. But that's, neither here nor there. We're going to get back into it sooner rather than later. Oh, man. Well, that does it for this week's episode. Super excited. I think next week is when I'm going to be welcoming John Edwards of Dad's Drinking Bourbon. So,
who?
yeah. You got beef with him or whatever.
I love John. I'm just saying that Zeke carries that show,
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. I'll let him listen to this episode then with no No prompting at all.
He knows where I am. He knows.
He knows how to find you. That's great. All righty. Thank you all so much for listening. Again, Adam, thank you so much for being the guest host this week. I will have you back on again sometime soon, hopefully.
Man, thank you very much. It's my pleasure, my honor.
Absolutely.
And thanks, buddy. Appreciate
you, man. Thank you. We will see you for next week's episode, but until then, I'm Perry, and this is My Bourbon Podcast.